Hello, good morning. I think we're feeling like we're the real stitchers of Poldo Cove today. So, hi, I'm Nicola Parkman.
And I'm Claudia Kistler.
And I'm Sandra Murray.
And we thought, as we were all together, that we could not resist doing a video to share with everybody else, because we're sat here talking about needlework, and nothing other than needlework, so we thought that we would share it with you. And we can't all get together without talking about Bristol samplers. So, as Claudia is the expert, the world expert on Bristol orphanage samplers.
I love them.
Anyway.
Let me hold.
Okay, I can show you mine.
There you go.
And I will show you Claudia's.
There
and
we go.
This is a new acquisition.
It's new.
It's new and it's absolutely exquisite.
Look at her.
It's a very sunny day here today, so you'll have to excuse the reflection. The stitches on here are so tiny.
They're really small.
Yeah, and what's gorgeous is the different motifs to the ones you normally see. There's a lot of unique ones.
There's more. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk to us about it?
Sure. Here, you take yours.
I'll take mine. Mine's a bit bigger than yours.
This one I just bought from Erna Hiscock and John Shepard. And what I loved about this, Erna is wonderful for finding Bristol pieces for me. And what I love about this one, you know, they couldn't quite remember who they got it from. So what it says on the back is over 140 sampler designs, and it's missing the letter J. So that, to see, you know, a lot of times people will distinguish samplers when they put them up for sale, but they knew exactly what this was. And since I ended up in their kitchen, thank you very much, Erna and John, I love these. So, and these are, if you put up this one. What's fun about these is this one is the reproduction, or the new one that's come out, and the original probably was a little bigger than this.
Yes,
but not.
I think that they were stitched on around about the same count of fabric,
yeah.
And we've been having a really interesting discussion this morning, because I wasn't aware that you could actually get 80 count fabric to stitch on. That was something that I've just learned, and I had wondered if at some stage Harriet had washed a sampler and it had shrunk. But no.
Because I've seen ones that I know have not been.
Yeah.
I've seen ones that have been washed and they're good, and I've seen ones that haven't. And it was just this small. It wasn't really stitching fabric. It was fabric they used for bed sheets or whatever. Or clothing. I mean, because it's not an even weave.
That's right.
Yeah.
And of course the fabric was so expensive and valuable. You know, a bed sheet, if they could have got a big enough piece of...
They would have just split it up, and it was all donated.
Yeah.
So they were they were nicely subject to what they had. And I was telling Nicola this morning that I've seen Bristol pieces stitched on something that looks like damask. I've seen them stitched on really heavy cotton.
Yeah.
I've seen them stitched on something that's very gauzy.
Yeah.
And they're all, you know, they used whatever fabric they had.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
That's what they needed to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, now, in your sampler, you've got some odd numerals which you think are bed numbers, because in Harriet's sampler, there are lots of little odd groups of numbers and series of numbers.
If there's like a three with a dot, I believe that's usually a bed number.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wondered, there's some 4-digit numbers in here, and I was wondering if some of those numbers were the orphan numbers of her friends, and she was including her friends.
Could have been. Yeah, we don't know, and the George Mueller Charitable Trust has all of those records. So sometimes if they have time, they will, you know, and you have somebody who's interested, they can sort of try and track those together, because every orphan, as you know, had a number.
Absolutely.
And they all had a bed number. And, you know, sometimes there were brothers and sisters there, they made friends, they came in together, sometimes they went out, you know, so it's a fun rabbit trail to go down.
And what I've done on Harriet's webpage, on the Hands Across the Sea Samplers website, underneath the main photograph there's some tabs, and one of them are Harriet's orphanage records, and I uploaded the records so that people could see.
They're so much fun.
You know, the records that are available, and the handwriting is dreadful on the person who applied to the orphanage for them to have places, but the writing in the orphanage records themselves is copper plate.
It's very good.
That's right.
I would not have been a record keeper because you would have never been able to read what I wrote. So.
And I think all you have to do is email the orphanage, and I think it's about a £15 fee, and they will send you a DVD or CD with those records on, and it just sort of brings the girls to life.
Yeah, if you can find them. Hers was signed and dated. This one has Mary on it, and it has 3 numbers behind her.
Yeah.
So this one we might be able to find. I don't know. I've had her for 3 days.
About 3 days.
Yeah. So I haven't had her for long enough to go home and look. But we might be able to find her. That's one reason you have different prices among the samplers too. Because if they're signed and dated, and you get the records, then you can really, then of course the prices go up a little more.
Yeah. But it's lovely to have those records to bring these samplers to life.
Then you get to know the history.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Absolutely.
No, I love that.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you've got the date on there as well, which is 1869, and this is 1866. So these girls were probably...
They might have been there at the same time.
Yeah, because we know that Harriet Salt didn't leave until 68.
No, she didn't.
And that Mary would not just stitch this sample in a year. This would have taken her a lot longer than a year.
This would have taken me a lifetime, but it would have taken her more than a year.
That's right, yeah. And Claudia and I had been talking on through Facebook, and Claudia knew the name Harriet Salt. So you carry on with the story.
You want me to tell
it's
the
your
story?
story.
All right, well, we hope I'm right, so we'll see. There is another sampler out there. There are red samplers and there are multicolor crystal samplers. And there's another sampler out there that was sold at auction, and you'll see this on the back of Nicola's chart. It was sold at auction, I think, in 2016 in Italy, and it was also by... we believe it's by Harriet Salt.
Yeah.
I thought it was Harriet Sate, but then there's too many similarities. She used some of these in multicolors. So we do not own the sampler. We do not. If you're out there and you see this, please contact Nicola. We would love to talk to you. And I wondered, and we're all sort of wondering why the red work ones were the ones they had to do. The red work ones were the ones they needed to do. That was their resume with the needle. The multicolor ones, I think, were allowed, they made time for them.
Yeah.
So they had, they were done in silk, they had colors. You had to have been a good stitcher, an interested stitcher, or put your time, because you were really busy when you were older.
Their schedule was very sort of regimented.
So you had to make time to do it. And so in the process of all of this, we hopefully sort of decided that there is another sampler by Harriet Salt, which would mean that's their second sampler.
Yeah. Well, I contacted the orphanage, and they confirmed in writing that there was only one Harriet Salt in the orphanage.
Okay.
We've got that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the other thing I was thinking, that we know that Harriet Salt went as a personal attendant to a lady who ran a ladies' boarding school.
Oh, that's interesting.
A young ladies'
So I don't
boarding
know
school.
her story yet.
Now, the fact that she went as a personal attendant, that meant she went as a lady's maid, or maybe as a little secretary as well.
Okay.
If she went as a lady's maid, she would have required very good needlework skills.
Okay,
and that would
that
tie
makes
up
sense.
with the fact that she was allowed to stitch a second sampler.
Yeah, and she may have not even she may have completed it before she left the orphanage, or may not. She may have finished it afterwards.
Well, she left in 68, and that was the date on that
That's true.
sampler. So we know it took her 2 years from this one to finish it.
See, there's hope. If you're stitching bristles, it should take you over a year to get it done, so don't get discouraged.
No.
No, but it's just really fun to see, it's just like putting pieces of a puzzle together.
Absolutely.
You find those pieces, and everything just sort of lights up. It's great to see what you can find.
Well, I know that Harriet married a man who was a tailor.
Okay.
I know that they lived in Cromwell Street in Worcester, in the same number.
Oh, that's just down the road from me, Nicola.
There we are.
That's where Sandra
That's
grew up,
right,
is in
that's
Worcester.
Well, Harriet was born in Hanley Swan, Yeah, she lived in Upton on Pond Severn. And of course, because I'm from Wales, from Newport, this is an area that I've spent a lot of time in. I have so many happy memories of the Upton Pond Severn steam rally every year, family tradition. Yes. So when I found out where she came from, it meant that she was all the more dear to me. So she married a tailor. And he died, and I haven't been able to find her. And after he died, and I think she remarried.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for the 1921 census to come out, which will be 2-3 years. I'm hoping to pick her back up. So that'll be very, very interesting, because I can't find a death record in her married name, so that's why I think that she's remarrying. So we shall see.
Well, that's a happy story, because sometimes they get out of the orphanage, they go into service or whatever, and they die at 22. But they either die early, or it seems like they live to be 87.
That's
so they live a long life. Yeah.
Well, they had to be hard to survive.
Oh yeah.
They really did. But you know, with Harriet, I cannot get the picture out of my mind. She was the eldest of 3 girls, and those 3 girls being delivered to the orphanage, and although it was a good orphanage, those buildings were huge, and those 3 little girls walking in through the doors of that orphanage, I cannot get that out of my head. And the fact that Harriet was the eldest, and I'm the eldest of 3 girls, and she must have felt so responsible.
Well, it was tough for them, but it was a good thing. Now I do have one Bristol that she picked out New Orphan House.
Really?
Yeah, she picked it out because she's another one lived to be 80 something.
Right.
But it was a stigma to be in an orphanage. But if you were going to be in one, the New Orphan Homes. Was the best in England. It was the best. It gave the kids, boys and girls, opportunities they would have never had. So.
There's a book you can buy. It's a very old book. It's out of print, but you can get a second-hand copy on Amazon. That's a biography of George Mueller, and if you read it, it is very, very moving.
I've read several books. I've read his original biography, so it's amazing. I mean,
amazing.
God really provided for those children through these people, and the community was great.
One of my best friends when I was in junior school, her grandmother had been a Bristol orphan, and I can remember her telling us stories when we were there for tea about it, and she always spoke so kindly or very fondly of her days in the orphanage, which
it's not all it would be tough for some of us because we just can't imagine being there, but it was good. I mean, overall, it was good.
They were very well cared for. You see the old photographs, and you've got the girls going out from school with a nice cute bonnet and a nice...
they were all clean.
And they were well dressed, and they were well fed, and they were educated. And education at this time period
was everything.
It was great.
It was rare.
Absolutely.
Great.
So they actually got a really good head start. Really good head start.
And I want to do one little promo for the trust.
Absolutely.
The George Mueller Charitable Trust was in a big house in Bristol, and they're moving back into Orphan House 2 sometime this summer. So they will take their museum, their samplers, their information, the things that they do. And I think that's great because I've been to the big house, we've all been there, and to go back, I've always wanted to be, to see in the orphan houses. And it's been a college, it's been private apartments, it's been whatever. And so the trust is moving back there. So, give them a little bit to get organized, but if you come over and want to visit, I think you'll have a great visit.
That's when I first met both of you.
That's right.
And Kim, that's from Stacey Jackson. We all met there. And when you go in and you look at everything, it is very, very moving. And one of the things I really loved were all the little needlework smalls that the girls made to give to their teachers. And Mrs. Mueller and George Mueller, and the fact that they wanted to make little gifts, I think that spoke of the love that was there.
It was good. It was good.
And their uniforms, their dresses are so lovely.
They really are.
Everybody who went to the uniform schools going, I don't think so.
Brilliant. And when they left the orphanage, they had their trunk, they had their clothes, their suits, their entire outfits. And George Mueller followed up to make sure.
And if they were badly placed or something, he took them back and found another place for them.
Yeah.
And the girls, when they were older, which I know that you know, they worked in taking care of the younger orphans, and they were paid. So they banked that money.
Absolutely.
They weren't paid a lot, but they banked that money. So when the girls went out, they took that money with them.
Yeah. Going back to the other orphanage sampler I reproduced, Louisa Collinor, her sister actually went back to the orphanage, and she was a teacher, and she spent all her life teaching at the orphanage. She never married, so she put back into the organisation that gave her a start in life.
And that says a lot.
Absolutely.
That says a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I still can't get out of my mind those 3 little girls entering the doors of the orphanage, and and having their hair cropped short, and there we are.
But as part of that sort of depends on where they were before. I have one girl that just they were in the workhouse and they were doing different things, and those kids, by the time they got to the orphanage, you don't know exactly where they had been, who had kept them, what their living conditions were. So it really, once they settled in, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good, but it would be scary.
Must have been.
It would be
absolutely
really scary.
awful.
It would be
Those
scary.
first couple of days or weeks until you knew that you were somewhere safe and you were going to be looked after.
Yeah, that would be scary.
So, anyway, when we got together at the Bristol Orphanage, I was very, very blessed to hear you talk about these samplers, and you fired my passion up even more.
Good.
So you're talking about them again in October.
In October at Sassy Jack's, and that won't be scary. It'll be a lot of fun. So we had to. We'll just tell you the truth. We had to look up the dates to make sure we got the right dates. It's October 4th, 5th, and 6th, and there's a meet and greet on Friday night. I'm doing a lecture on Saturday. I actually have a slightly challenging stitching project for you on Sunday.
Right.
And we'll have a good time.
I'm so looking forward to it. I'm flying over from here to be there.
No pressure.
No, I'm going to really enjoy it.
I know, but no pressure for
me. It'll be great.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be good. And I'm also releasing, during that time, I have a sampler that's part of the Trust, collection of the Trust, and it's M.H. Smith, and she will be released on that weekend. Wonderful. So, and I have her charted. You can't have it yet. I have her charted, and so I will release that in conjunction. So if you're worried about what you have to stitch, you'll have 3 samplers in your class packet. You'll have M.H. Smith. You've got whatever Nicola samplers, whatever other Bristols we can, bring in.
Yeah.
So you've got lots of options, lots of stitching options to choose from. So I'm not going to completely submerge you with projects for the weekekend, but I have enough for you. But you've got lots. We're just going to have a Bristol stitching weekend.
Yeah, you'll bring them to life so beautifully. I got goosebumps.
I get so excited over this. I have to tell you a funny story. So on the bristolsamplers.com is the website that I do. I have some of the samplers up, some are mine, some are other people's. I tell you a little bit of a story about them, and it's informational. And then I have a list of reproductions, who's reproduced what, and who the designer is, and how you can contact them. So I'm not really selling anything from there, but I'm giving you education. And under the Redwork Samplers tab, there's a little link, and what the link is it's a copybook for these samplers. And I was told by the Trust a long time ago, no, there's no book. I thought, yeah, there has to be a book. Yeah. So I found one, and I haven't shared all the pages with you, but I've shared a couple with you that are familiar. And I kid you not, the thing is this big, the pages of the book, and my husband, bless his heart, he's looking at these little tiny pages and said, how can they stitch that? He said, oh, never mind. Because this is on 80 thread per inch fabric, so the book is like big, but the book is, it's really tiny. And it's one of the accordion, the copybooks, probably sometime around 1860, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, you'll see that on the website. Go look, go have fun. And this one will be, as soon as I get back to the States, we'll have the link for this
because
one.
this one wasn't meant to be released until June the 12th.
And
there is a story behind
We had a little
that.
event, so.
On Thursday night, I went to bed feeling really pleased with myself. I had been working like mad for the last couple of weeks, getting everything up to date, the house, the cottages, hands across the sea,
Waiting for us.
Yeah, ready to leave for my trip to the States. I was all prepared for 2 samplers being released on June the 12th, which is the day after I returned. And I woke up Friday morning to find that the 2 samplers, Harriet and Elizabeth Atkinson, had sort of been released, and it snowballed. Stores started to show them. So yesterday afternoon I had to release them myself. So it's been a little bit hectic, hasn't it? So.
You may have to wait a slight bit for the chart, but you can place your order. You can place your order.
Well, I was up till the early hours packing individual orders, and that's all I've been doing this morning. So
I'm just called us.
I know I should have done that, shouldn't I?
You.
But you were very tired when you arrived yesterday, so.
Okay. Well, I'm better now.
Well, it's all outside waiting for the postman to come and pick up. So everybody who has ordered up to, what time is it? 1 o'clock today, Saturday. Yours is in the mail today.
And the rest of you just get in the queue.
Oh, I was trying to ship as quickly as possible. Anyway, no, I know, and it's really funny because Claudia and Sandra had come over to spend time with me, but I had also arranged to go to Sassy Jack's.
Bye.
Yeah, so they're here for the week, and my husband's going to be entertaining you. Yeah. Sandra and Ray are going to go and play golf. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're going to have today and tomorrow together, and we're going to go next door now into my house to have a look at some samplers. And I wish I could take my iPad with me so that you could all share. But, you know, if you want to come to Poldico and visit with us, you'll be very welcome too. So,
thank you
yes,
very much.
Okay. Thank you for listening from
you.
the real stitches of Poldico.
There you go.
Bye-bye.